Hey everybody, it's Mr. Odom, and I am going to review the answers to the much awaited Chapter 3 practice test. This is the answer key. All right. The little note there, you can use this video as a resource for your test because the problems on your Chapter 3 test will look exactly like the ones you're going to see now, only the numbers will be different. All right, so let's get started. Number one, simplify. So I'm going to get a highlighter here. There we go. Simplify this expression. Means write it in simplest form. So what did I do? My first step was to find the like terms. And I do that with the squares and the circles. Step two is put the like terms together, put them next to each other. Step three is to simplify the like terms. So negative 6 minus 7 is negative 13. 1/3 x minus 1/6 x. Notice over here I just wrote down to remind myself that 1/3 is the same as 2/6. So really this is 2/6 x minus 1/6 x, which gives me 1/6 x. Two different ways you can write it. Either way works. You can switch the order of the terms, but that's the answer to number one. Number two, you know what property this is that I have to use when you see these arrows. That's the distributive property. Why? Because I have to do step 0, get rid of the parentheses. Odom, get rid of them. So I use this distributive property. It's negative 8 times positive 2. And negative 8 times negative 3w, and then I just have this negative 3w there. And I have two terms that are like terms, and I combine them, and I get my answer. Negative 16 plus 19w, or 19w minus 16. Either one works. For number 3, to simplify this, remember, I need to look in front of the parentheses or to the left of the parentheses. Is there a number there? No. Then drop those parentheses. Drop them. Okay. Then I go through the steps again. I identify my like terms, I put them together, and I combine them. And that gives me the answer. All right. So somewhere you should have those steps for simplifying an expression. Have those handy. So remind you what you need to do. So again, when I have to find the sum of two linear expressions, that's the same thing as saying, hey, you, simplify this expression, this whole expression, simplify it. So look, now I have a number in front of this linear expression. Let me get another pen color. In front of this linear expression, there's a number. In front of this one, there isn't. So I can just drop the parentheses for these terms. Here, I need to use a distributive property, so I do that. And then I go through that same process. I identify like terms, I put them together, and then I simplify them, right? I combine those like terms, negative 12m plus 8m, negative 4m. 12 minus 10, 2. Are there any parentheses? Are there any like terms? No. So this is in simplest form. Next. Number 5, which expression represents the difference? So difference, remember I need to turn the subtraction into addition by adding the opposite. The opposite of 6b is negative 6b. The opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. Then I look in front of these, hey, there's nothing in there. There's nothing to the left of these linear expressions. Drop the parentheses again. Then I go through the same process, and you can see the answer. All right? Go through that process for simplifying linear expressions. Number 9, we're jumping to number 9 because you don't have to do 6, 7, or 8. So here I have an equation, and I need to solve it. So I need to figure out what y is. When it says solve, it means figure out what the variable is, and then move on. So for this one, what do I have to do? Right now, I'm subtracting 1/4 from y, so I need to add 1/4 to both sides. Okay, so I do that. I add 1/4 to both sides, and I get 5/4 plus 1/4, which is 6/4. And then remember, whenever you have a fraction, you always have to ask yourself, is this fraction simplified? All right. You don't have to ask like that, but you could. And no, this one is not in simplest form, so I have to simplify it. And I do. Y equals 3/2. Next. Number 10, write the word sentence. So the difference. So difference means I better see some subtraction around here. So difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So what am I finding the difference of? A number C and 13. That's what. So then I write that down. C minus 13. The word is means equals, and then I have -2. Can you solve that? Yes. So I just need to add 13 to both sides, and it gives me the answer. All right. Here's another problem to solve. T divided by -4. So I'm dividing by -4, so I have to use the multiplication property of equality to multiply by -4. So I do that, and it makes T go away because of the canceling that goes on. I get T equals -36. Here's another one. Now, this time I have a fraction as the coefficient. And remember, I told you, if you have a fraction as a coefficient, multiply it by the reciprocal. Okay, so reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8/1, which is the same as 8. So this side I multiply by 8. That side I multiply by 8/1. I get n equals -56. 13. All right, so now I have this expression divided by an integer. So with the expression, I just put it in parentheses because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the multiplication property of equality. And how's that going to help me? It's going to help me get rid of that denominator. So I multiply both sides by -2. And I end up with whatever's left inside those parentheses, which is d plus 6. Subtract 6 from both sides, and I get my answer. -10 minus 6, -16. All right. Notice that this expression on the left-hand side of the equation is not in simplest form. So before you start trying to solve the equation, make sure that both sides are in simplest form. The right side is just a number. So when you do that, you add those three terms together, you end up with 7v. Now, can I get v by itself? Yes, I can. I'm that good. I know I need to divide by 7 on both sides, and I get my answer. All right, next. Whoops, did I get too long? Oh, there we go. So you guys have to remember what it means to find the perimeter of something. Remember, the perimeter is the distance around. So how far is it from here to here, then down to here, then over to here, and then back up to there, right? What is that distance? Here's a formula for perimeter you might have seen or might have forgotten, or you might remember. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. All right. The other way you could do that is just add both of the lengths together and add both of the widths together, and then add all that together. Guess what? That's what we're actually doing here. So now there's a 2 to the left of each one of these linear expressions. So I need to use the ever popular distributive property. I'm going to distribute +2 there. I'm going to distribute +2 here. Right? And so you can see the work that I did. And then I end up with this expression over here on the right side of the equation. I need to put that in simplest form. Okay, so I do that. And I left out some steps there because hopefully you're getting used to it. You know, hey, I got to take 6x and add it to 8x. And I got to take 18 and subtract 10. So that's what I did. All right. Number 16, we're almost done. Pretty cool. 72 is, there's that word is again. Okay, is meaning equals, because it says is equal to. So 72 is equal to. So 72 is equal to 80% of means multiplication, a number n. And here's an important point. It says write the percent as a decimal. So I need to take 80%, which I know all I have to do is write it over 100. And that's just 80 hundredths, which is the same as 8 tenths. And so I can write down the decimal. Okay. So the equation for this would be, what am I going to put in the box? I'm going to put 0.8n in the box because the 72 is already there. And we can solve this, divide both sides by 0.8 to get n all by itself. I also have to divide that side by 0.8 because I divided that side by 0.8, and I get n equals 90. All right. Number 17. So we're going to adopt a dog from an animal shelter. Adopt a dog from, okay, that's sweet of you. But you got to pay for some stuff. What do you got to do? So you got to pay $80 for vaccination, $65 to neuter the dog, and $50 for a wellness exam. So the doctor can say your dog is well, right? So we need to be able to write an expression in simplest form that represents how much money it's going to cost to adopt X dogs. All right. So one way to look at this is how much is it going to cost to adopt one dog? Well, I would add 80 plus 65 plus 50. So I would add this with this and then add that, right? That's for one dog. That would be for X equals 1. Because if X equaled 1, then this would be 80 times 1 plus 65 times 1 plus 50 times 1. That's for one dog. So you can see how much it costs for one dog. It's just $195. For two dogs, well, I need to take 195 multiplied by 2, which means X would be 2, all right? For X dogs, I don't know how many dogs I'm going to get. Maybe 20, maybe 17, maybe 1, maybe 36, right? So I don't know, but I can figure out how much it's going to cost now for me to vaccinate, spay, or neuter, and have a wellness exam. Okay, it's 195x. All right, that's the expression that represents how much it's going to cost you. So that's part A of the problem. This is 17B. I should write that on here. So this is number 17, part B. So it says, what does the coefficient mean? And I've already been talking about that, the coefficient. Well, I need to know what a coefficient is. The coefficient is the number that you're going to multiply the variable by. So 195x, or 195 times x. 195 is my coefficient. We already talked about what that is, right? That is how much it costs to adopt one dog. If x equals 1, you pay $195. All right, so that's why the first one is the answer. All right, so get number 18. So you and your friend are selling magazine subscriptions. Good on you. For a fundraiser after W weeks. I don't know how many weeks it's been. So that's why we use a variable. You have sold this many, and your friend has sold that many. Then it says write an expression in simplest form. Don't forget that on your test. That represents the difference. We're talking about subtraction again. Between the number of subscription your friend has sold, so he will come first, his subscriptions, and the number you have sold, so you will come second. So you take the number of subscriptions he had, subtract the number you had, and that would be the difference. So remember, I'm going to turn my subtraction problem into an addition problem. I'm going to add the opposite. So I skipped a step there, but I did that, right? If I add the opposite of 3w would be negative 3w. The opposite of positive 4 would be negative 4. And then I have these terms here, which I can just drop the parentheses because there's nothing in front of that linear expression. And then I go through those steps again. I combine my like terms, or I put them together, combine them, and check to see if there's parentheses or what's the other thing? Parentheses, like terms. There we go. And there isn't. So here is the expression that represents the difference between how many subscriptions I sold or how many my friend sold and how many I sold. After 5 weeks. So now W, remember, represents weeks. So I substitute 5 in here. Okay, so you see that I substituted 5 for the W, and 2 times 5 is 10, 10 minus 3 is 7. So after 5 weeks, your friend has sold 7 more subscriptions than you did. So better get hot if you want to catch it. All right, number 19. A manufacturing company produces X units this week, and they want to increase how many units that they're producing. They want to increase it by 125 units by next week. So this week they made X. Next week they want to make X and increase it by 125. And their goal is hopefully they can make this many units, right? So we want to figure out what's the equation to find X. Well, I just highlighted the whole thing except for that, right? This is the equation. So that means this would be the answer. Okay, last one. Your brother is 1/3 of your age. So what did I do here? I listed brother, sister, and you. And let's figure out what we can find out about each one of you in this problem. So your brother is 1/3 your age. So whatever your age is, let's say you're 12. If your brother is 1/3 of your age, your brother's 4. It's 12 divided by 3. Or 1/3 times 12. Okay, so I write that down. Here's an expression. Your sister is 10 years old. What else about your sister? Your sister is 6 years older than your brother. Well, how old is your brother? Your brother is, let me get a pen. Do I have a pen? Give me a pen. Your brother is this old. Okay, that's how old your brother is. So your sister is 6 years older than that. So that's how I end up with this expression for your sister's age. Oh, wait, your sister is also 10. So these things must be equal to each other. Oh my goodness, I have an equation now. Can I solve it? Can I solve it? Can I solve it? Yes, solve it. So I subtract 6 from both sides. Then remember I have a fraction as my coefficient. So I need to multiply by the reciprocal on this side, which is 3 over 1, or 3. Multiply that side by 3, and I get my answer, A equals 12. So that is your answer key to the practice test. And this is Mr. Odom, and I'm using my signature so you can know that I was here. All right?